Hey, just got done seeing Unfriended. It premiered in our town tonight, so I went with a buddy to go see it. And when I first got this trailer, I can't remember what movie I was seeing, but I remember Austin was with me, and I got the trailer, and I thought, wow, that looks very stupid, just looks like a dumb gimmick for found footage, a genre that really sucks for the most part. But then I went online and noticed that it was getting some good reviews. And it premiered at a festival last year, and it got really good reviews at the festival. And then today, before going to see the movie, I went on Rotten Tomatoes and noticed that it was still getting mostly good reviews. And so I thought, you know what? Maybe the trailer doesn't do it justice. Maybe I am not giving this movie enough credit. You know, let's just go in with this and maybe it'll surprise me. This movie was awful. Awful! I hated this movie. I hate this movie more than The Lazarus Effect. I don't hate it more than Mordecai. That's still the worst film I've seen this year so far. But wow, did this movie suck. How did this get good reviews? How? The last movie I reviewed on my channel, if I recall correctly, was It Follows, which was incredible. That is a horror movie that lived up to the good reviews it was getting. And the high that I was on from how awesome It Follows was shattered by the crap that is Unfriended. This movie is not groundbreaking. This movie is not super original. It's a found footage movie. It's a generic found footage movie with extremely annoying and unlikable characters. And the worst part is that we watch the same few annoying characters from beginning to end. And if you've seen the trailer, you've seen most of the deaths already, so there's nothing new there. You know just by watching the trailer how this is going to end. And trailer aside, it's a found footage movie. And that I just want to talk about that for a second before I continue to talk about Unfriended. The problem with most, not all, but the problem with most found footage movies is that everyone dies at the end. Specifically, the protagonist usually. Hence why it's found footage. I get it, but because that happens 90% of the time, you kind of expect that going into a new one, and there's not much suspense when you know that just everyone is going to die. And Unfriended, the trailer for Unfriended did no favors because the trailer pretty much shows you that whole movie. This is not a Paranormal Activity kind of thing where they put in a bunch of footage in the trailer that's actually not in the movie to kind of throw you off. That's not this case. But all of that aside, this movie has obnoxious characters, stupid fake jump scares, a really dumb gimmick with the whole Skype, Facebook setting. If you don't know, the whole movie is seen on a computer. And it's the main character on the computer. So you see the Skype conversations happening on this one computer. You see the main character going on Facebook. And it's all happening in real time. So you're watching all this happen throughout the movie. That's the movie. The gimmick, the whole Skype gimmick, it's not the worst I've seen for a found footage movie. But man, it's not scary. I'm sorry. The whole Skype thing is not scary. And it's not the first time I've seen a found footage movie use Skype. VHS did it. It wasn't scary in that. And Paranormal Activity 4 did it for a little bit. Definitely wasn't scary in that either. And I remember briefly reading some of the good reviews for this movie. And one review said that Unfriended it's a new genre of horror. I really hope that is not true. Please tell me that this is not going to be a new trend in horror movies, the whole Skype thing. It's not scary. It's stupid. And taking that aside, there's just nothing shocking about this movie. There is nothing creative about this movie. It's the story itself. I'm not going to get too much into the story. It's very predictable. The whole movie from beginning to end is predictable. None of the characters are engaging. And a big part of this movie has to do with lies and secrets, and those secrets being revealed, and you find out that there's darker history behind these characters. Here's the problem. None of these characters are likable in the beginning of the film. So in other words, when the movie progresses and you learn all these dirty secrets about these characters, it just makes them more unlikable. It doesn't make them shocking. It doesn't, make you feel mixed about how you feel about the characters. No. I can't stand these characters. From the very beginning, I couldn't stand them. And learning more and more about how terrible these people are, it just made it worse. And this movie clearly has this anti-cyber bully message to it, which, that's fine. I mean, that's a very serious issue. And so I can appreciate them wanting to address it. It's not addressed well, for the record. The story that it's trying to tell with cyberbullying in this movie is, for something that's so predictable, at the same time it's so poorly told. And part of that is due to the fact that we're watching the whole film on this one computer, and the computer is basically telling the story. So it's all done through text and YouTube videos. It doesn't get much better, the movie. There was never really a point where it picked up. It just kind of consistently stayed predictable, consistently stayed cliche. There were no jump scares that got me. There were no natural scares. There were no natural scares in this movie. The movie just sucked. There was never a moment where any of the characters I thought were in the least bit likable or engaging. If you're wondering, the villain sucks. The villain sucks just as much as the other characters. In fact, every character in this movie is unlikable. And the villain is no different. And the villain's not scary at all. There's nothing intimidating about this villain. And the way that the villain does what it does makes no sense. Other than it's supernatural and it's happening. There's really no explanation as to what caused this, why it's happening, how it's happening. Nope, it's just happening. Let's compare this for a second to It Follows. The supernatural evil in It Follows has a very mysterious and unexplained background. And there's not much explanation as to what started this, why it's happening, how it's happening. Kind of like the antagonist in Unfriended, right? There's not much explained there. Here's the difference. The antagonist in It Follows is actually scary, for one. It's something that's so simplistic and yet so mysterious and creepy. It's this ghost that just continues to follow you and you have to constantly run away from it. And while that may seem silly, it's something that just doesn't end. And so there's something just so eerie about its presence. There's something so eerie about the supernatural evil in It Follows. So while you never quite get why it's happening or what started it, it's still an intimidating presence. Unfriended doesn't work because the villain in Unfriended is just constantly typing on the computer to all the other characters. And it says, what I'm going to do to you. This is what I'm going to do to you. Even though I'm going to do it to you anyways, don't do this, otherwise I'll kill you. Even though I'm going to kill you anyways. It just doesn't work. I'll admit, part of what I think is upsetting me so much is that this movie got good reviews when it really shouldn't. And I'm kind of scared that this is going to start a bunch of rip-off films and sequels, which from what I heard, they are in talks of doing a sequel. I'm sure this movie's going to make a lot of money. But with that said, even if this movie got bad reviews, even if it bombed at the box office, this movie still sucked. And it was obnoxious to sit through. I don't recommend it. Please don't see it. There's just nothing interesting here. The Skype internet gimmick, it's not creative. And it doesn't work.